Hi, I'm Donna Levy Hoffmann.
I'm George, her husband.
I'm a certified health coach specializing in gut health. I'm a passionate public speaker and the founder of Organilicious and Miso Cooking, and soon to be Organilicious Meal Delivery service.
As her co-founder, I'm more behind the scenes and also responsible for public relations, media relations, and I guess that's why we talk today.
And you're also a project manager at the Hoffmann residence.
At the Hoffmann residence, which includes 2 children, yes, soon teenagers.
I love the fact that you guys you look like you're 12 years old and you have 2 teenagers. So I'm sorry, I had to pipe that one.
They are, we have preteens now, so it's a touchy subject. It's getting rough in this house. Organilicious, so what we do is help mainly women, but also men, reach deliciously sustainable lifestyle changes. So the coaching involves eating as well as lifestyle changes. If it is due to stress or sleep or physical activity, relationships, career, etc. So what we're trying to do is really make sustainable changes that last forever, and it has to be delicious.
Essentially, it's health coaching, what we ended up doing.
I love it. One, thank you very much for both being here. I love this. I love the husband-wife team. It makes me smile. Where are you guys?
We're in Switzerland. You and I, Jodi, first met, I'm not sure anymore if it was actually at a networking event physically or on the screen as well in Boston, because we, some years ago, rather frequently compared to today, went to Boston, and now we are in Zurich, Switzerland.
I have gotten to the point where I collect amazing people. So whenever I meet someone amazing, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have to keep on, keeping on. So everyone always has to how do you have so many people in your life? I go, well, I meet amazing people and you're stuck with me. I'm stuck with you. So it's all, I hope it's a win. I don't know. But let's talk about where did you guys, before you guys got together, but who are you? Who are you? And what was your journey to get to the point where you met each other to the point where you are right now? So I want everyone to understand the pieces that led to the magic behind the two of you.
Okay. I was born in 1980. No, I'm not going to go that far.
76.
I'm actually Israeli. I grew up in Israel and in America. So in 91, when I was 11 years old, we moved to Boston. And I was just, this emo kid with, hating high school and wanting to go back home to Israel, to my family. I went back. Actually, my parents are still in Boston. I went back to Israel, did the army, traveled and things like that. And when I was 23, I actually met this handsome man right there.
Coming from Switzerland to Israel first as a volunteer and then deciding to stay for some more time. And actually, I got the permit there.
I didn't get
residence
choice today.
At some point, I worked there, actually within family company, and we were engaged very soon after we met, I think. It all happened within a few years.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw him and it was angels singing and kind of forced him to marry me. No, I didn't. But we, it was love at first sight. What I'd like to think was love at first sight. And quickly after, I think we were within a month or 2 of dating, we were living together. Within a year, we were engaged. Within 2 years, we were in Switzerland getting married. So it was just...
You know what? You knew. It's one of those moments where those long engagements, I'm like, I don't get it. Either you get married quick or you're together forever without having to get married is what I believe in. But the whole entire, we're going to be engaged for 3 or 4 or 5 years. I just don't understand. So yes, so I'm definitely of the camp of I know myself, you know yourself. Let's just get it done.
Yeah, exactly.
So it is you hear the turmoils and the stories from individuals that say never ever do business with relatives, never ever do business with spouses. You are a spousal business. So talk to me about why did you make that decision, and what positions did you have before you created this?
That was a really good question, because I think for me, I always knew that I was going to be an entrepreneur. Like can we curse?
No.
No.
Preferably not. Okay. So
Do not cuss on my show.
As your PR, I'm saying no.
So I couldn't, I don't take, is crap a curse word?
No, it's not. It's good.
Oh, okay. I couldn't take, like, I can't have people tell me what to do, is the nice way about it. And so I always had this push to start something new, to find what people need and things like that. And actually, funny enough, when I met Georg, he had this idea of, you know, us being in Israel, and, you know, Israel has not necessarily been shown in a very nice light, especially, you know, on the news and things like that, and especially at that time. And he actually had an idea to walk on a path from north to south, and basically document it. Yeah, like videos and photos and things like that, and just hike. And I was game. I was a passionate photographer in my, you know, younger life. And so we kind of, within the first year of knowing each other, we already started a business together.
The first one, yeah.
It failed miserably.
And it was also a project where our lesson learned was it was a business with friends there and in Switzerland, and who else was involved? At least 3 countries. Yeah. And our lesson learned there was don't do business with friends.
Yeah, so the friendships didn't necessarily survive, but our relationship, I think, strengthened from that. And so anyways, that was mainly the reason that we came to Switzerland, was we were broke after trying to start this business. And so in Israel, it is very hard to kind of pick yourself up and start from zero or from minus. And in Switzerland, we had the luxury, you know, it was between Switzerland and living on a friend's sofa for a while and being next to George's parents, who were much older than mine, or going back to Boston, where I completely vetoed, because I was like, I'm not living with my parents again. And so we decided to move to Switzerland. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I was going to live in a postcard, but here I am. And yeah, and then we picked ourselves back up. We started working in different jobs. We were young, we were capable, we had the energy of you know, 20-year-olds, and so it worked. And then about 1, 2, 3, how many years?
Back in Switzerland.
So 3 years later, 3 years after moving to Switzerland, there was the first day showed up. And I had ants in my pants. I wanted to do something other than just being a mom, because I don't know if you're a mother, but as a mom, you, especially as a fresh new mom, you feel like you're a wallflower, really. I mean, like, you don't have, it's the baby and everything that surrounds the baby. And I really wanted to just do something for myself. Mm-hmm. Long story short, second baby came 15 months later. It was a rough time, mm-hmm. but I was still kind of coming up with different ideas and logos and menu plans and like different things that I wanted to do. And then my mom actually came up to me and said, you know, my mom is also an entrepreneur at heart, and she started offering kids cooking classes at her home. And she said, you know, you love kids and you're really great cook, and why don't you do that? And for me, it was really hard, because what she did was, you know, using very basic ingredients like flour and sugar, really, to make everything, you know, to create things with them. And I wasn't into the unhealthy, I wasn't as crazy as I am today, but I wasn't into that. And so it took me a while, but then I kind of developed this Miso Cute Cooking, which is healthy kids cooking classes for kids and their parents, where I taught kids from age 1. We started already to work together. And that kind of kicked off. It was nice, but it was really difficult. It was very, very difficult. And it was also very expensive, since I was using all organic ingredients and healthy and things like that. And slowly but surely, I mean, George was always like super supportive, a little bit cautious, a lot more cautious than I am.
The Swiss.
It's a Swiss in him. And the fact that we burnt once, you know, he was very cautious. Now we have 2 kids to take care of. But he was always just super supportive. And so Miso Cute Cooking kind of developed on its own to Organilicious, to be honest. It's moved from me teaching the kids and having the parent, you know, like the kids are just making a mess and there's stuff flying around everywhere. And I'm meanwhile telling the parents, you know, replace this with that and you know, cut this way and it's easier, and giving them all these tips and tricks and ideas and what's healthier. And so they started asking me to just come and teach them at their home with the kids gone, and to coach them and to help them. And so that just really naturally developed. There were a few things on the way, ups and downs. I mean, there were definitely a bunch of rough patches, but I kind of see them all as a learning experience. So, you know, life led me to what I'm doing today, and I couldn't be happier. Honestly, I love my job right now.
I love the story. I mean, and oh my God, like my brain is like, whoa, there's so much to go for. So start with George for a quick second. George, it's very rare in most companies that the husband takes the second tier seat. And so you are the machine behind, where usually it's known as the wife is the machine behind. You're the machine behind the magic. You are the one that actually elevates all the storylines, the marketing, the branding, you could have the strategy behind. Why did you choose to take that role? And what did you do before to get you to where you are now?
That's something I ask myself almost on a daily basis. And sometimes I think I have the answers, but then it's again getting blurry. We both, on both sides of the families, have health nuts. Some. My dad was one. And when I trace it back, what Donna is teaching about nowadays is not much different from what he was telling me from a young age, to live healthy, because he had his learning from his past as a musician, where it can go both ways, the unhealthy and the healthy way, and he chose the healthy in the end. And he didn't make me, but he taught me like what's good and what's not so good in terms of food, nutrition. And what we're doing nowadays, it's not like a hype for me or not a new trend. It's something that's been with me for decades, off and on. And my dad was also, because he had less and less engagement as a musician, more and more at home. And my parents already in the 70s, 80s, they switched from the traditional model of the working dad and the stay-at-home mom to the working mom and the more often stay-at-home dad. And I'm not surprised that I'm trying to lean towards what my dad did, although I'm still employed nowadays. I work 100% for an employer and in the media, and I'm PRing and whatever she needs me to do for Organilicious and for my kids. I love my kids. I don't need to find any hobbies for myself to isolate myself from my family, because I can do everything I want to do, I think, with my family somehow, whether it's business or leisure. So
I think we were lucky that both of us came from families that were in one way, shape, or form feminists. So my mom was a very strong-minded, still is a very strong-minded, kind of controlling the family, controlling everyone. Everyone
is the Israeli way, though. I just want you to know that. I get that. I know a lot of, I have Israeli clients. I was in Israel last year, which we'll talk about. Oh, it is the Israeli way. So you say, not shocked by that.
That's very true. That is very true. But when I met George, I was kind of surprised that that was also their case back at his house, because it is not very Swiss. No. Women in Switzerland are very secondary. They are, they're mostly stay-at-home moms, actually, surprisingly enough, until today. And so for me to realize that I was lucky enough to get myself a guy who actually understands that a man can have as much, if not even more, responsibility at home and lovingly support his better half, if I may say so myself, then you know, I just, you know, it was honestly, I was just lucky that way, because I always was that type of like, look, I'm a feminist and I think we deserve, you know, I think we have a lot of power, and I think we need to use that power for the good of the world, because we all know that women are also driven to like peace and love and let's make the world a better place.
Yep.
And I think I was definitely, still am, very lucky that way. That's you know, he's a very supportive and really, I mean, he does more than I do around the house, to be fully honest with you. I mean, poor guy.
I'm not sure. But I have to maybe add there that I'm not from a traditionally Swiss family either. I'm the first generation born in Switzerland, but my dad was born and raised in the Balkan area. My mom was born in France. They're both Second World War survivors, and our whole script was written different than most of the scripts of the people that I know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it makes your story richer, without a doubt. So just out of curiosity, your teenagers, do you have girls or boys?
We have two naughty boys, 11 and 12. Super smart, crazy talented, beautiful boys who need to be separated quite often.
Like now.
Like now.
Right now.
Like now. All right, so let's tap into we'll call it the job world for a second here. So we are seeing, obviously you're seeing in the United States, this is post, pre-pandemic, diabetes, the obesity, you're seeing the health of the individuals in this country not great. Some people say if you see a bigger belly, they're doing better. They're making good money. If you see a thinner belly, not so much. You see the celebrities when they first started their career, versus what they are now. What are your thoughts about, you're seeing how the world is seeing nutrition and health. There are books about this. You have the Blue Zone. There's so many different conversations about who lives longer, who doesn't live longer. It supports and hurts the economy of the country. So how is your message of healthcare starting, especially because you just said it, we start at 1. How are you able to take your mission and bring it to not only the country that you're in, but other countries, and keeping that message to grow in a better, stronger light that it sticks? I'm from the Caribbean. What you're saying to me is not foreign. I mean, I grew up being very focused on being healthy. I have a farm share. I get my meat from a butcher. It's very part of who I am. So how is it that you are able to make the mission grow, 1, and number 2, how do you take away that individual that loved having that McDonald's every day when they're younger and they've only known this? How do you convert that?
I love that question. I love both questions. The first answer is, it has to come from the individual first. I'm not, I don't want to go around trying to convince people that they need to live healthier and eat healthier. That's a bit of a waste of my time and talent in a way. And it took me a while to understand that. But as soon as people are ready, whether it's a wake-up call from a health problem that they find out all of a sudden they're pre-diabetic or diabetic, or they find out that they have really high blood pressure, or that their parent, my wake-up call was, cancer in the family. So that's what brought me to do what I do. And so I think it definitely needs a certain basic understanding that you are what you eat, that what you're putting in your body, not only food-wise, but also energy and things like that, but at least the understanding of what you put in your body food-wise makes a difference, right? Because if someone comes up to me and they're like, look, I love my McDonald's, I'm never gonna stop eating McDonald's, make me healthier, I'm gonna be like, oh, sorry, I don't have a quick fix. I don't have a magic pill. What's nice though, is that when they do start to follow, my guidance and my consultations, and they see that they're not going to only eat lettuce for the rest of their life, right? Because people think healthy is going to be just boring lettuce. I'm never going to do that. when they see that and they notice that and they follow it for a very short amount of time, I'm talking about a couple of weeks even, that McDonald's is not going to taste the same. That food that they're hooked on, you know, if it's Coke or if it's a Red Bull or if it's, you know, I can name all the things that my clients came up to me and said, oh, but I'm hooked on this. They don't eat it or drink it anymore because they legit do not find it, their palate changed, right? They don't enjoy it anymore. And so what I try to do is I try to make people understand that, you know, I often compare our bodies to a car because I think a lot of people can relate to that, any piece of machinery really. But, you know, we would never dare to give our car the wrong gasoline, the wrong oil, never, ever, right? And we expect that car to take us from place to place without breaking down. And we actually give our body the wrong fuel every single day. Now, our body is meant to last a lot longer than a car. We replace a car every, I don't know, roughly 10 years, if not less, if you're on a lease, probably 5 years, right? And our body, we're hoping and praying that we'll live to, you know, 80, 90 plus years, but we abuse it every single day with almost every single bite, some of us, right? And so I think when people understand that connection and understand that for a body, there are no replacement parts. Okay, yes, there are doctors, they'll give you different medicines, but that medicine will mean that you need another medicine because of the side effects of that one, and the list goes on and on. To understand that and to understand this is not a magic pill. This is actually a pill that is killing me slowly but surely, and that there is a good and satisfactory way of living where you gain more energy, where your brain works better, where you're, you know, you're just feeling great and you're feeling you love your own body. Then the magic happens on its own and the word carries on. It's like a tidal wave, right? If someone enjoys the work that they do with me and the way that they live and that they feel afterwards, they will talk about it and they will make sure that I get more clients or that people take care of their health. Even if it's not my clients, I don't even care. If I help one person and he helps, you know, one and they help one and they have, then I'm already happy, because what I care about is people's health. And we see that even more now with Corona. You see that most people who are really, really suffering from it have diabetes, they're overweight, they have other underlying conditions. And so when we understand that it's not only those, you know, when you say cancer, sometimes people are like, that's just it's just a word. It doesn't actually mean anything to them. But when it's something so close to home, and especially in America where so many people are suffering and dying, that's when people are starting to wake up and say, wow, okay, I need to change something and I need to change it fast because I don't want to suffer.
Yeah, it's so funny that you just said that, because until it hits home, people don't pay attention to it. And that's what we're finding with a lot of different things, especially pandemic, or in cancer. And then there's a lot of studies where there are countries that have never heard of cancer. They don't have it. They don't have it. They don't experience it. And just to hear that out loud is like, I go, what do you mean they've never heard of it? Because they don't ever, they know how to take care of themselves. So Michelle Obama had this entire, I mean, that was her mission. Her mission was to basically get people to pay attention to their health. It was a major initiative for her. So in respects to the pandemic, so you have Muka, the former First Lady, focusing on we need to take better care of ourselves. Cancer is abundance, obesity is abundance. People are starting to get into that mindset. The pandemic happens, everything's out the window. First month, I'm gonna exercise, I'm gonna sit there and do these things. Oh wait, this is lasting a little bit longer. So with a pandemic or without a pandemic, you get into your mind space of something not doing great. My dad died 5 years ago, and my diet was ice pops. Literally, I was on ice pops. I mean, I didn't even eat. I didn't eat popsicles. It was a comfort thing. Popsicles, yes, it's sugar water, but then for some people, their comfort is something else that's not as, I mean, and again, the sugar pops were not healthy, but it was my comfort. During this pandemic, people have been baking and just finding ways to get comfortable. How do you stay healthy when you're just trying to get your mind around that concept of what is happening globally? When will it end? What does this mean for my family? I'm trying to keep everyone in a happy, positive mood. What do you say to that? I mean, because now it's no longer just what I'm putting inside me, it's a mental thing, and you're dealing with both. So how are you handling that?
I have to tell you, you touched a couple of things, and those are the things that I would talk to my clients first before even looking at their food is stress, sleep, and self-love. Those are the main three things. And I think that when you understand how those three rotate your decisions for the rest of the day. Okay, so we talked about self-love, you know, like the car, right? You love your car, you take care of it, same for your body. But if we love ourselves, but we're thinking, like, I'm so stressed, there's so much unknown, and unknown, the brain does not like the unknown. It does, just plain does not. And so when we have all that stress behind us and we're saying, you know, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, if I die tomorrow, I definitely want to eat all the muffins in the world, 100%. But at the same time, I will be able to, you know, survive this pandemic if I don't eat those muffins. So it's those decisions to make in the moment, right? And so that's why we need to, first of all, understand and know how we can handle stress better. Because again, stress, you know, our brain under stress works the same as it did when we were in the caves, right? So back then we were stressed. That means we were being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. We're hiding in another cave. We don't know when we're coming out of there. We don't know when we're going to get our next bite. And we need to preserve energy. Mm-hmm. And so that stress tells the body, basically the brain tells the body, stop everything and collect all of the energy in fat cells. Okay, now, nowadays we don't move. Even active people do not move as much as that caveman did, right? And so, but as soon as we're under stress, that's what happens. So our digestive system stops working, we're collecting fat in fat cells, our brain is on autopilot in a way, you know, like thinking of negative things and stuff like that. We need to cut that first before we even look at what are we eating. And when we do that and we understand where our emotions are coming from, then we are able to make better decisions, right? A lot of the times, I don't know if you grew up that way. I can definitely tell you that we did, and most of the people that I know did. We were told to suppress our feelings. Don't cry, you know, don't make a big deal out of this, you know, it's just a scrape on the knee, like all of those sentences that made you think it's not okay to cry, it's not okay to show emotions, let's like suppress and suppress and suppress. And so people they need a physical something to push these emotions down, and that's where emotional eating comes into play, right? And so if we look at our emotions in the eye, we're able to control our eating habits and our decisions on what we're going to eat a lot better, right? And so if you're sitting there and you're like, now I'm sad, now I'm, you know, for you it was icicles, for me it's like a bag of potato chips, and I don't share my bags of potato chips, you can vouch for that, you know? So for me it's like, okay, this bag of it, but what is going on? What's happening? Why am I angry or sad, or, you know? And so to cry it out, to write it down, to really understand where these emotions are coming from, and then to say, you know what, cool, I got it out of my system. Mm-hmm. A, I still feel like I'm going to eat that bag of potato chips because that's what I'm going to do right now, which is okay. Or B, you know what, I deserve better. I want to feed my body something better. I just had such a hard time dealing with my emotions and bringing it all up that now I'm going to give it something that it will actually, not that it will soothe for a split second and I'll feel like crap afterwards, but it's more to feel better and to really hug myself from the inside and out and say, look, this, I don't know, fill in the blank, fruit salad was, you know, just as delicious, so much more satisfying, and I feel great right now. And I don't feel like I need to push down the bag of potato chips with a Haagen-Dazs, right? So it's all of those, it's you know, all of those steps one after the other that need to happen and to occur for us to actually be able to make the right decisions, knowing what is actually going on in our body in terms of emotions and in terms of, you know, what we put in there.
you opened up the question that I'm going to give right to George. George, you're in the media, you're doing PR. There are people that are clearly, everyone's at home. So now they're able to see, like, I mean, usually news is going past us like this. This is coming so fast. And now I'm home. I'm able to see so much content. And I'm sure you're hearing the States, fake news, fake news, fake news. But yet those individuals that are needing Danny. So how are you able to communicate to them that this is something that they should consider? Like, what is the messaging that you are designing to get to get someone like me to like read and see that, oh my God, I should definitely engage with you guys, but I would have never known that you existed before because I'm moving too fast?
Well, we have to touch the pain points, and when people understand where their pain points are, and so we learned also as entrepreneurs, it's a marketing thing. You know more than us about that, actually. That's a point that I had to learn also as someone who worked in media. I was not a marketer, I was not a salesman, and we have to also sell what's good, what we think is good, what we know is good, because we learned it for ourselves. What we're doing, what Donna is teaching, and I'm supporting, it is not something that we just take from the books. It's coming from own experiences, either from our personal experience or from experiences of our peers. And that's what we can teach, and it's genuine. And when people listen and read that, listen to that and read that, then we feel the connection, they feel the connection. And we had no client, I don't think, who was not satisfied in one way or the other when going through a program with us.
Have you found that there are more people coming to you now? Like, I mean, they heard about you, but now all of a sudden this happened, and they're in a spin. They're in a tailspin of, where do I go? Not just like the eating, but more so the stress of, I'm working from home. I don't know how long this is going to be. Maybe this is not the right place for me. You guys are entrepreneurs, and so this you're going to answer two questions. I hope you can answer two questions. But the question number one is, how do you speak to the individual that is at home? I'm getting paid. I have a job. I'm on Zoom over and over and over and over again. My colleagues are now seeing my home. You're in my house, my sanctuary. And so how do I figure out who I am in that setting? And by the way, do I really want to be here? Do I really want to have this job? You guys are entrepreneurs. You could have had any job you wanted. I mean, as an Israeli, you're in the military. You guys are trained to do anything and everything. You guys are entrepreneurial, like megas. Everyone around the world knows that. So how do you speak to someone that is in that situation? They're at home, they have a job, they're getting paid. I'm just trying to figure out if this is the right place for me to be. And mentally, physically, I'm just not feeling it. It's not about what I'm eating. It's just, I'm just not feeling it right now in regards of everything that's happening in this job that I'm in. So as an entrepreneur, what would you say to someone that's in that situation versus, and again, not what I'm eating, but it's just everything that I'm doing is just not fitting anymore?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question, because I think that we have to allow ourselves to, and I learned that the hard way this quarantine, but we have to allow ourselves to be in that survival mode for a while in peace, and to understand that, okay, something is happening. The whole world is on their toes. Like, no one knows what's going on. Put a mask on, don't put a mask on, right? No one knows. To give yourself that, okay, what do I need to do now just to survive, right? To tell someone go look for another job right now would probably be silly, because they might not find a job that easily because of the situation. But to know how to manage their time while they're at home, okay? There's such a different dynamics between being at home in front of the computer all the time and employed nonetheless, versus being in the office, having these micro breaks to get a coffee, to get a drink, to talk to this person and to that person. It is a totally different world. And so people notice that they sit down on the computer, and then all of a sudden, at 9 o'clock, and all of a sudden it's 5, and they're like, I did not even get up once. Like, I got up to pee really like crazy, but that's about it. And so to allow ourselves to understand, okay, this is something that it might not change. We don't know that, but we need to first kind of collect ourselves about it and then move forward. Because if we're trying to, you know, I can tell you that what happened with me, for example, is my business just, you know, stopped point blank as soon as this happened. Events that I was going to do, live events, you know, catering gigs, like a bunch of stuff, and clients. I was like, where's everyone? People used to come to me, like, I didn't even have to search and people showed up at my door, and then it just stopped. And for the first week, I can't sit still. So for like the first 2 weeks, I was going crazy. I was going loony. I was like, what do I do? How do I do this? How can I get more clients? Da, da, da. And then I realized, you know what? I can't even, like, as soon as I leave the office door, I'm on survival mode. I'm trying to figure out how to keep my kids fed and how to keep them entertained and how to keep myself from growing crazy at home with 2 kids and a husband who I am not used to having them at home all the time, right? So to really, again, it goes back to that self-love, to give yourself that love and to say, look, let's just try to figure this out. Let's just try to see, how do I make this a more gentle transition and a gentle and peaceful space for myself? Maybe we need to organize the room. Maybe we need to really like have other food to rely on that makes you feel better. Maybe it's a lot of those things that we need to really pinpoint, you know, what is it that's driving you insane at home? Is it not seeing people? Is it not, you know, that's literally what I do with my clients. I have one dear client, I love him to pieces. And he really, really suffers from being at home. Like he's single. He's, you know, he works at a bank. So he doesn't like to be at home. And so that was a really, really rough time for him. But we found different ways of him taking a walk when it's really quiet out and not too many people, to meet his physical trainer outside in a park so he doesn't miss out on his physical training, which makes him feel amazing. Mm-hmm. Those little things. We just need to really, again, it's just really taking the stress out. It's putting that stress on the side and saying, okay, let's look at it from the outside. Let's look at it from a different direction. I don't remember your second question though.
No, but you did a great job, so I love it. So like you wrapped it all up very, very well. What do you think the changes will be in the industry that you're serving? I mean, the healthcare, everyone's seeing how either you're extremely older, like 80s, 90s, dying from the pandemic, or the individuals that getting it and or dying from it that are younger, not healthy, obese, etc. What do you think overall the healthcare industry, the food industry, like what are the changes that you predict? Your passion, not your passion, but your prediction of what happens now. Where will it go? Will it be better? Will it be worse? And I'm asking you to predict for not just, I mean, where you are, but I mean overall the country, I mean the world.
Yeah. I hope it's a prediction. I can't say that it's a prediction because I still don't trust lobbies and, you know, the big pharma and all of that to actually come to our rescue. I think,
food industry essentially too.
Yeah, I think that their pockets are more important than our health, unfortunately. But what I do hope is that people understand the importance of functional medicine. Okay, the importance of understanding why we have a certain illness and not what pill do I give you to stop you from coming to my office as a doctor, right? I hope that people understand, and I see it a little bit now, lately, let's say, but I hope that people understand that they have a role as role models, either for their parents or for their siblings or for their children or for whoever, as teachers, as media personnel, everything. Okay, I'm hoping that they understand, everyone understands that they, you know, telling a child, eat your broccoli, it's healthy, while you're hiding with that bag of potato chips, right? Or whatever it may be, is not necessarily the way to go. Not to tell your child the word healthy at all actually does help a lot more, because the word healthy is so convoluting. No one really understands. When I say health, you think of one thing, he's thinking of another, and I'm thinking of another. There's no real consensus there. But I do really hope that people understand that their health and their like physiological lacks that we're not really aware of unless we actually test it out. Mm-hmm. And the energy that they consume, as well as the food that they consume, that everything is one big puzzle. That all of these puzzle pieces really do need to come together, right? Because if you know, people that come up to me and they just say, I want to lose weight, I want to lose it in the next month, and no. You know, there's a lot to say about, okay, but wait, how about, let's talk about the stress. And I do 30-day programs. And that's the funny thing. I always tell them I do not believe in 30-day programs. That's the first thing I tell them on my 30 days. But it really does need to be, you know, we grew up with a doctor for your ear and a doctor for your leg and a doctor for your kidney. And it's like, we're one piece of machinery. Yeah. And we need to look at it as such. And so that's my hope and prayer, is that there will be some sort of food revolution where people understand that their money makes a difference. Yeah. That if we stop putting that 99 cents or $1.99 or whatever in McDonald's, that they will not have it, or that they will offer other things, right? And so, or when we start supporting the small farms and local shops and producers, then they actually will be able to provide us with more, better, cheaper, you know, whatever it may be. That is my hope. I hope I'm right, but I can't promise you that, unfortunately.
Yeah, we're convinced of a way for the future, for the present, also we have to go back to more natural nutrition and also more natural medicine. In our bubble, we see that there is a movement, there is a food revolution going on, there is this back to the roots sort of movement, and we hope that it's not just a bubble of our own that we see, but that it's more of a global movement, yes, and not just the health.
But you just said it, the bubble. I live in that same kind of bubble. I live in a bubble where we have a co-op, and it's like a farm that supports three of our towns, three major towns, and you pay a higher premium for every Tuesday we get our fruits and vegetables. I mean, a small farm share or a large farm share, it's true. But then you're thinking about individuals in Switzerland, in the United States, anywhere where if they don't have those dollars, they can't get that food. And it's easier to get to individual, it's much easier to get to a McDonald's and Burger King's. So what do you say to an individual that, because you're seeing people that are getting COVID are obese, those individuals that are obese are in areas that the opportunity to get higher yield, healthier foods aren't around. So what would you say in that, like, what do you do if you're in that situation?
I honestly think that opportunities nowadays are growing, but I really do believe, and I still have these conversations on a daily basis with people where they say, oh, but why is organic food so expensive? And all I have to say to that is, you're looking at it the wrong way. Think about why those food-like products are actually so cheap. Why would a whole hamburger cost you 99 cents when you can't even make that at home, right? And so what those people do need to understand, and they do, I think, understand slowly but surely, is that when you're saving your money and going and getting that, 99-cent burger, the rest of your money will end up going for your health insurance, for your doctor, and you bet that your doctor is not taking the medicine that is giving you, and they're eating organic. And so taking that money and putting it into local organic produce is taking that money and putting it back into your own pocket or into your own body.
I love that you just said that. I mean, honestly, that's something that it needs to be said more often. And even the way that you just said it, where instead of saying, why is that so expensive, question, why is that so cheap? Why is that staying on the shelf longer than it should? Because it shouldn't stay on, you're looking at an expiration date is in 3 years. why? Why is the expiration date that long? So absolutely, you're right in so many different levels. I want to switch over a little bit in the short time that we have left. How has this been for you at home? What have you, I mean, you guys are working at home. I mean, are you guys still in, like, how is the situation in Switzerland right now?
There have been some restrictions, but compared to our surrounding countries, and I'm reading this today also in the news again, compared to our surrounding neighbors, we had less of a lockdown. We should more speak about a shutdown there. The economy is shutting down a little bit this year. We've talked for the first time in a long time of a recession because 2 quarters of the year have been negative, so we're going backwards. We were not forced to stay at home and stay within our walls. We could still leave home, and maybe there is a problem that people had too much freedom too. That's why we have numbers going up as well.
Masks were not required in the shops until now, and we're on the second wave now, and now they're finally saying, oh, maybe we should wear masks in shops only.
Was it more so because people started leaving the country? No,
I think it was just I don't know. I think it was just a little bit of a delayed. I think money makes the world go around is my short answer to that, honestly.
In certain branches, fields, industries, this was a decision-taking process. And some industries like the culture and the events industry suffered a lot. Others are not complaining too much. The IT and online businesses, the retailers, especially e-commerce, had a really good time. And people and corporates did sort of convince their workforce to stay at home in the home office when they were prepared for it. When they were not prepared for it, then people still will go to their offices. So we did not completely lock down.
Okay. So how has that affected you being at home? I mean, like, well, you're not locked down, but how has all of this affected you and your relationship, your children? I mean, just everything. And as you're seeing numbers starting to go up, what's the plan for your home? Not even just work, but what's the plan for you? And then, because like, if you're okay, the work's okay. So how are you balancing both of those worlds? How are you handling that?
I mean, I think in terms of the quarantine itself, we were relatively doing quite well. Again, we have our farm and our, meat farm and our veggie farm just outside the door. So we didn't feel too stressed walking into supermarkets, especially when no one else is wearing a mask. Our boys were thriving.
We have to add that the schools did close for some time.
Yeah,
before summer break.
A little bit, yeah. But they opened before summer break already.
Right.
So they were closed for a very short amount of time. We kept our kids a little bit longer. I think in terms of our relationship, we've been through, we could talk probably for another 2 hours if we talked about that, but we went through so much as a couple, especially when the kids were born. We both suffered depression and it was a very rough time for us. And so we've been through so much that was almost fun. We were like, bring it on. We're having fun. We went outside and played soccer with the kids, and we were, doing our thing. And we saw the kids being so creative and finally getting their questions answered
from us,
and from the internet and things. And they were getting so enriched. And so I think that already made us feel good. We saw that the kids were doing well. We saw that as a family unit, we were doing well. And that was already enough for us. At the same time, I can say that I see a lot, I can totally get that it could be so rough for some families, if the couple doesn't have a good enough communication or relationship.
Or stress.
From
whatever source.
Yeah. Or losing your job and being stuck at home is just, it has to take a huge toll on the relationship. But we were doing quite well, actually.
which I love. Yay! Yes, I love hearing that. If you were to add, during this time, have you found that you've added something that you would have never thought of prior? Like this ridiculous amount of time that you have now. Whether it's, I'm not even going to, I'm not going to lead the question, but is there something that you added to your company, to your life, that you would have never thought about because before you were just too busy?
Honestly, for me, I can definitely say, and I just realized that yesterday, I was talking to my business coaches and I realized that I think for me, it was a little bit more patience, not necessarily for the kids, but for the business and the development of the business. Mm-hmm. You know, going from a really thriving, successful business that was really growing beautifully for the last few years to nothing took a lot from me to just say, well, I need to just enjoy the moment and understand that it is what it is. I hate quoting Trump right now, but it is what it is. And to just collect myself and say, let's just enjoy the time that we have together as a family. So I think there I noticed for myself that patience gave me an easier way to go back to, you know, kind of operating again. I think that was, and giving myself that time that I need, because, you know, we're on autopilot most of the time and it's not fun. Sometimes you lose track, especially as an entrepreneur. You kind of, you know, it's your baby. So you want to do what you love to do 24/7. And that could be just as harming as not doing it at all.
For myself, I can say I had to juggle the usual roles that I have to juggle, but maybe more intensely, like becoming a teacher at home all of a sudden when the schools were closed. That was new. I mean, we helped with homework before, but now it was more, we were more in that teacher role or co-teaching with the teachers. That was a bit rough for me at the beginning because I was also still employed and I was still a co-founder of our little family enterprise. And this was a challenge for me, and I don't think I gained, like I hear from other people, when I compare myself to others who all of a sudden have too much time on their hands for themselves. I can't claim that for myself. I had a book from the library here where I thought I was going to learn Chinese during COVID, right? That didn't happen because I was busy thinking about pleasing those little boys over there who had a lot of requests. My wife is also, how do you say? You are high maintenance. So the school was high maintenance, and if I get a medal this year, then it's being a dad, a husband, a teacher, and a co-founder and an employee.
I mean, as a journalist, his job didn't go down, so that was, you know, that was the problem. A lot of people found more time. But for him, he was an essential worker. He had to go to work. He had to.
Yeah, I did still go to the office when others did not go. And something I did during that period, which I didn't do before or didn't dare maybe, was actually moderating a webinar on Zoom. You do this all the time. I, for the first time, had to do it and learn it from her. Like 1 hour, was it 1 hour? It was a 1 hour webinar. Which I haven't done before. I should have done it before, but now I was forced to. Now I'm digitized, sort of.
Yeah, which is a good thing. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I love the traveling. I mean, I love the traveling, but it hasn't been, countries that were not able to afford me are saying, hey, since you're on Zoom, are you able to speak at blah, blah, blah? Are you able to do a workshop? And I'm like, of course. This is another element of what we didn't think of. There are other ways to engage with people. So I think that's like it's great for all of us. Those bosses that got the request, can I work from home 2 or 3 days a week? And they said no, and now everyone's working from home. Guess what, Mr. Boss Man? Are you needed as a third party where the CEO is thinking, do I need that manager when everyone's online and I can just see clearly who's working and who's not working? So this digital movement, not by design, I mean, literally not by design, it came upon us like full frontal, is amazing. Because 10 years when the world imploded last time, we didn't have Zoom, we had Skype, but we didn't have any of this. And there was no option but to go to work or just lose your job. these companies, a lot of big companies, medium-sized companies, small companies are still around because the technology is allowing us to do our businesses in a different way.
Yeah, exactly.
My last question to you guys, and both of you guys have it. So what would be your personal ask and what would be your professional ask of anyone that is watching right now? This is one of those moments where if you were at home, if you were talking to somebody, it would be just local. You have a global audience. What would you say to them?
You want to take it first?
No, you go ahead.
I think my personal ask and my professional ask are merged. And all I could ask is for people to take their health seriously. Honestly, I think that's the one wish that I have for everyone, is to really understand what's going on now, but also what has been, obesity and diabetes were pandemics way before Corona. And so I just really wish and pray and hope for everyone to just understand that their health matters more than their job, more than anything. And that, especially for the women out there who are caregivers, who will always put themselves last, prioritize yourself in order to take care of your loved ones better. Because when you're broken, it'll take like 10 people to replace you, and it's not fun. So I think it does merge for me. Sorry.
Yep. Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry.
Mm-hmm. Well, if I can add to that, then I had this thought before during our our conversation now, is that for consumers, certainly I hope and wish and ask that we do change our ways, that we invest in ourselves, try it out to go for the more expensive and more natural solution and see how that affects your bills afterwards, maybe less medical bills and more food bills, as it happened in our house. Let's try as consumers to redirect ourselves and therefore hopefully also affect policies. And that's something I'm asking from people in charge. We need to show, and also I have to ask the audience to, let's unite if we are on the same path there. Like, let's unite and ask people in charge to change policies. There must be, for instance, a sugar tax. There must be either a lower price on the healthy foods or a higher price on the unhealthy foods, as we said before. And there must be a more healthy everything, like the way we look at ourselves and at every other human being and animal and nature. That's a lot to ask, but that's
food revolution.
Yeah, and professionally, I mean, when we see now how people are thriving in a home office, then let those who work better from home work from home. If they go crazy at home, let them work in the office. Also myself, I'm happy to be here at home with my family, working from home. I'm more efficient, more effective certain days. And then of course there is a day where I realize it's not only that I have to go to work, it's also I want to go to work in a different space other than home. And that's something we should, every one of us, and myself included, be able to negotiate with our bosses, with our employers. Yeah.
You guys nailed it so well. I wholeheartedly believe that. I always felt like when you're done with work, go home, and everyone just stays at work and just like tries to look busy, just so that way the boss is like, look, you're looking at 5 o'clock, and then it doesn't make sense because your work is done. So finding things to do just to do it doesn't make sense. In regards to the food, I agree with you. I mean, you're given one temple. You're given one amazingly beautiful temple, and one should assume that you're going to take care of your temple. And I'm not saying you can't. I mean, I have those days where I'm going to eat a pint of ice cream and I'm going to be okay with it. Yeah. I love it. It's my favorite. I only eat vanilla ice cream. Zero guilt. I go to bed. I wake up. I'm like, did I just really eat a pint of ice cream? And then I go for a run. But my next day after the pint of ice cream is amazing because I'm like, okay, let's go. I love my junk food. I love my healthy food, but it is a 10% 10% junk and it's like 90% healthy foods. I love cooking. I love baking. My mom's a chef. My dad was a green thumb. And so we're from the islands. I mean, so this is all I know, but I'm not going to say no to Cheetos. If I see a bag of Cheetos, but I'm not going to eat Cheetos every single day. So I feel that I was taught about moderation. It's all about moderation. And when you don't put moderation in your life, it doesn't work. When you hear the word diet, it has a negative connotation. It has such a negative connotation that for me, I heard when I was younger, my mom was on a diet, this diet. And I'm like so anti-diet. I just changed the way that I eat. It becomes that whole entire concept of how do I change what I do? Because all you have to do is change one thing and you see the difference. So your body is so forgiving that all you have to do is change it a little bit. And it changes dramatically. And people just assume, oh, wow, that exercising did help. Oh, wow, that walk did help. Wow, the sunlight, vitamin D, it helped. So, I mean, I love what you're doing. I love what you're speaking. I love how you're both doing it together. And I love how you're raising two sons that it's part of their lives. So because it's part of their lives, it goes throughout and it's a ripple effect of going to the next generation, and next generation. Because for me, it came from my mother, my grandmother. It's a wonderful thing to know how to take care of yourself. And we're not perfect. We're humans. We're not perfect. We forget. Something goes wrong and you're like, what's wrong? And then when you fix it, you're like, oh, that was a rookie move. Really? Yeah. I should have known that one. So I love that you're doing it together. Thank you so very much for just taking some time and talking to me. Team.
Thank you.
I love the
team.
You.
Thank you so much for having us. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, you're very welcome. And I want to do at the end of the year, I want to touch base with everybody. End of the year, January, just see what did it look like for everyone? Because I've spoken to so many different people in so many different industries from so many places around the world that I've met through my vacations, through my jobs, through my moments here in Boston. I love you guys. I love how you guys are just changing the planet, not just changing your community, but changing the planet. And so I want to see how you guys are doing in the next couple of months because it's the last quarter. Let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. We would love to do that. And hopefully we'll have amazing news.
Maybe you can come and see us in Zurich, or we come and see you in Boston at some point.
I know. I need to come and see you in Zurich. Oh, I need to come and see you there. I'm thinking about it. One of the conversations I had was Iceland, and I feel like Iceland might be the first one because it's easy. Yeah, it's easy, and it's Iceland and Azores is one of those two where everywhere else is just a little bit of a hotbed. But I feel like if I'm going to go somewhere, it's probably going to go one of those two first. Just saying.
You can do Boston, Iceland, Zurich. It's it cuts that's what he keeps
I've
playing.
Done it. On my last trip to Boston. Mm-hmm.
Well, I used to live in Australia. It doesn't really bother me.
Oh God, okay.
Yeah, those flights don't bother me at all. But thank you guys. And I can't wait to talk to you guys soon.
Same.
Looking forward.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.